Hey everybody, welcome back to the Reef Freak channel. It's going to be a real quick one here. This is a little quick video about understanding your reef tank. So this is my 25-gallon reef tank here, and at first glance everything looks fine. It's mostly a fish-only tank. It's got a leather coral up there who's a little closed up, and it's got a little leather coral down here that fell over, but other than that, there's not much going on. Now, I do have some anemones in here. They're rose bubble tip anemones, and I have one there, right there, and I have one right here as well. And both of these anemones are always open. They literally almost never close. And I did a water change recently because they were a little closed up, and even after the water change, they're still a little closed up. And at first, I was testing the ammonia, the nitrite, the nitrate. Everything's testing perfectly because of the recent water change. And then I really took a look at the tank just to kind of understand what's going on with the tank a little bit better. And if you look at the tank and you just take it all in, there's brown algae on all the rocks. So these rocks are normally mostly purple. They do have some weird little, they have like these little green things that grow on them, which is a little weird, these little macroalgae type of things. They've got, some feather dusters like what's back here. But for the most part, these rocks are always pretty clean, and this brown coat that has developed in the past day or two is all diatoms. So these diatoms are a sign that you've got high phosphates in your tank. And even back here, you see on the red, the cyanobacteria, that's another sign of having some high phosphates. And your easier to keep corals, like your zoanthids here, they don't really care. They're going to open up no matter what. So really what it is the phosphate level in this tank is a little too high because we're getting this diatom bloom here. And this tank has been set up for, like 2 years now, so it's a pretty well-established tank. So I know it's not because it's cycling or anything like that. It's purely because this tank just has some high phosphates. So how do we get rid of that? Some reefers will use things like PhosGuard. Some reefers will use other methods like GFO reactors and stuff like that. I primarily am just going to use water changes. So in this case, I'm just going to do another 20% water change and keep doing a 20% water change until the diatoms go away, until the phosphates lower. The reason for that is I really try and keep the tank stable. So if I can just do 20% water changes a couple days in a row and maintain the salinity and the alkalinity and all the minerals and stuff, then that is going to keep my tank nice and stable. Where if I start adding things that I've never used, like if I start adding things like PhosGuard to a system that's never had it, I don't necessarily know how it's going to react. Some people claim PhosGuard is putting like aluminum in the water and stuff like that. So that's my concern, is I don't want to mess with the dynamic too much. I really just want to go in here and do some water changes until the phosphates are low enough. Now, if the phosphates keep coming back, then we have a problem. Could be overfeeding, could be the food we're feeding has lots of phosphates in it, something like that. And in this case, I have been feeding these guys pretty heavily. These are my two Clarky clowns, so they've been getting quite a bit of mysis shrimp lately. So maybe I'll tone down the feeding just a little bit, do a little bit more water changes, and hopefully this all should go away. So yeah, if your guys' anemones are closing up like this, what I would recommend is first check your ammonia, nitrite, nitrate, assuming that all checks out well. Check your salinity. If your salinity checks out well, then definitely keep an eye out for phosphates. That can definitely be a problem in your reef tank. And if you don't have any phosphates, especially if you've tested for it and you don't have any phosphates, it could be too much flow. This power head could be providing too much flow for these anemones. Right now the power head is off though. I did turn it off the past 2 days just to see if that helped them at all, but they didn't really care. They didn't react at all. Or it could even be your lighting. So on this tank, I don't really have very powerful lighting. This lighting has worked for them for the past 2 years, so I know the lighting is not the problem. But if your anemones are newer, then maybe try turning your light down to 60% and slowly ramping it up. Or if your tank is older and you're bringing these anemones in there and the light might be super duper high, you should just try lowering it and see if that helps your anemones adjust, and then you can raise it probably 2 to 4% every single week until you get the light back to the previous intensity. Welcome back everyone, it's been a couple days now. These anemones are opening up beautifully. If you look at them, you can actually see that the little bubbles are starting to come back on the tips. And the rocks are looking a little better. You can see the diatoms have sort of died off from the rocks mostly. What ended up happening is I did do those couple water changes like I mentioned, and I really want to clarify that my tank has quite a bit of rock. I've probably got 20 pounds of rock in here, and it's a 25-gallon tank. I've also got a ton of biological media in the back, so this is an all-in-one tank. I have a media chamber back there. Marineland was very, very generous and gave me a 4x5 media chamber to use. So I 3D printed a media basket that uses every ounce of that space. And basically what that means is I can hold probably 100 gallons worth of biological media back there. I literally just bought the giant $22, Fluval Biomax, and just look at that Clarky just diving in there. He loves it. He's gonna make the anemone close up just by being that aggressive with it. Anyways, I literally dumped in some Fluval Biomax in there that probably would have been enough for, a 100-gallon tank. And with that much Biomax media in the back of this tank and this much live rock, I've got a lot of beneficial bacteria in this tank, so doing a couple water changes in a row isn't going to crash my tank. Now, if you're running a tank with, no sand bed or very few live rock, or maybe you have just a little bit of biological media in the back, then I would be pretty careful with doing a lot of water changes in a row. You definitely don't want to replace all your biological and beneficial bacteria in the tank. You definitely want to make sure that you have enough of that in there to support the life that you have in the tank and support, the amount of food that you're putting in this tank. But yeah, these anemones are looking great. I'm really happy with how everything turned out. I'm really, really, really glad that they were able to come back in just a couple days and not be, out in an environment that they were unhappy in. And there goes the Clarky clowns just sipping around. Oh man, they crack me up when they do this stuff. That's part of the reason that I love this hobby, is you just see stuff like that every single day and something new all the time, and it just brings me a ton of joy. So thanks for watching, everybody. If you have some troubles with your anemones, let me know if checking the phosphate helped you out. And if you have any questions, let me know.